Okay, guys, let's take a look at the MPC Weird Monsters. MPC, that is Multiple Products Corporation, also known as Multiple Toy Makers. And in 1964, they started selling these 2.5-inch tall monster figures called Weird Monsters. Forgive my lack of polish. I haven't started editing yet because I just started making videos, but here's a picture of the packaging, the original packaging of the Weird Monsters. All 8 of them came on a blister card with a cool header there of that ghoul guy, the MPC ghoul. And even though I do not have that 8-pack of original packaging, I have a piece of it, which is really strange. I picked this up in an eBay lot with some monster trading cards, and the seller had it thrown in with the monster trading cards. I don't think they really knew the difference, even though you can tell it's different from a trading card. I mean, for one thing, it's got a punch hole there, and it's marked Multiple Toy Makers. And there's the MPC ghoul. Looks kind of like the Phantom. Well, it looks like their vampire, actually. Their vampire looks a lot like the Phantom of the Opera. But moving along, they came out with a few play sets for these guys, and I'll discuss them in a second. Right now, let's just take a look at each one of these and appreciate the sculpts on these things. This is the skeleton holding a bat there. And like I said, these are just under 2.5 inches tall. They're like 1/32 scale, I guess. And they are to the scale of, a lot of the toy soldiers, or, the common term army men that all of us had back then. And of course, everybody let their soldiers battle the monsters. That was a big thing. Here's the mummy. That black doesn't show off detail really well on camera. It's pretty good in person, but camera has problems sometimes. And there were 4 colors for these original MPC Weird Monsters. Purple, black, orange, and green. This guy's just known as the Monster. And anybody that watched my video on the MPC Pop Top Horrors, or just knows about Pop Top Horrors, also knows that these guys are smaller versions of the Pop Tops without the feature where the heads come off. These are all molded in one piece. Here's the witch. I pulled this set out of my custom play set to show you guys for this video, because I have a couple of other original sets, but they're mounted on those ships right there, which I'll get to in a minute. And I didn't want to have to take all those off and put them back. So anyway, here's the Creature of Doom, also known as the Grim Reaper commonly, but according to MPC packaging on the Pop Tops, it's the Creature of Doom. And here is the Wolfman, looking like a classic werewolf with the big ears and all that. Trying to get it to focus. The sculpts on these are really good, just like the sculpts on the Pop Tops. They don't quite have the detail of the Pop Tops just because they're smaller, but they still look good, and they were fun to play with as a kid. And here is the Executioner. This guy is one of the favorite figures with most people that grew up in the 60s and had these, as a kid. And of collectors these days. Seems like the most popular ones are the Executioner and the Creature of Doom. But all of them are pretty popular, and there are a lot of them out in the marketplace. You still see a lot of the original Weird Monsters for sale. They're usually for around $15, sometimes $20. Now, sometimes people want ridiculous prices for them, and that's silly because you can, they're pretty plentiful. You can easily find them still in the $15 and $20 range in nice condition on eBay. And sometimes if you buy them in a lot, you can get them cheaper than that, like maybe around $10 a piece if you buy them in a group, which is a pretty good deal for these things. Now these small ones on the front here, I'll get to them in a minute. They're actually different. Now I'll show one of these. They also made them in red for only one playset. Here's the skeleton in the red with his bat there. And that playset is the Monsters Checkers set by MPC. And I'm not going to show all the red ones because they're the same sculpt as the ones I just showed. They're just in the color red. The only way you could get the red ones, like I said, is the MPC Checkers set. When you go to buy the red ones, if you get lucky and find them, which they're a lot more scarce than the other colors, the MPC, the checker set actually had reds and blacks so that you could stick them on the checkers, at least the 8 checkers in the back. And that's, according to MPC, that's what made it a Monsters checker set. But since black is a common color for the regular MPC Monsters, you can't really tell the difference between the ones that were sold in the checker set and the ones that were just sold every other way. So the blacks are no big deal price-wise. Now the red ones, those are the only way you could get the red color. And not a lot of people know about these things these days. I mean, they're popular among a certain group of collectors, but the average collector wouldn't even realize that the red ones were only available in the checker set and wouldn't realize the scarcity. So a lot of times when the red ones do come up, very infrequently, they're no more expensive than the others. And, I'd say fair market on them is probably, I don't know, $30 or $40 a piece, maybe $50, just because of the scarcity. And here is one of the glow-in-the-dark ones. Skeleton again. The glow-in-the-dark is that slightly translucent stuff that doesn't show details very well, but they do glow in the dark. Those glow-in-the-dark ones were available in a playset that MPC came out with in the 80s called Dragon Crest. I don't have that playset. I wouldn't mind having it if I could get a good deal on it, but when they come up on eBay, the box is generally trashed because it's a big box, and it's just a regular MPC playset for knights with the castle, and it's got this really flimsy cardboard base that holds the castle like up on a hill, and it's supposed to be like a dungeon for the castle. And it's got a dragon with it. It's got like 3 sets of those glow-in-the-dark MPC Weird Monsters. And I don't think the glow-in-the-dark ones really sell for a much different price than the original ones. Maybe even cheaper. I mean, fair market on them might be just like $10 a piece or something. But I mean, I wouldn't mind having the Dragon Crest set if I could get a good deal on it. Like I said, I'm not giving $200 or $300 for it because almost every time you see it, which is fairly infrequently, the box is messed up and it's missing some stuff, and I'll probably have to do without that and really not mind that much because, like I said, it was based on, it came out in the 80s. It was based on the Dungeons and Dragons phenomenon that was extremely popular back then. It was not based on classic monsters like from the 60s. Now, The other play sets that MPC made in the 60s were small play sets, but they were more in the vein of classic monsters. There again, here's my low-tech. This is a picture of the Horror House Target set. Had the little gun with, it shot those little soft, I guess they were styrofoam balls or whatever. But look at the graphics on the box. I mean, that's the reason people want these original toys like that. Those graphics, as good as Marx was, the Marx Toy Company, they could not compete with MPC as far as graphics on monster toys. MPC was the best. And now that's why they sell for a lot of money. A Men in Box Horror House Target set, I mean, you might be expected to pay, I don't know, $1,500, maybe $2,000 for one now. If it had a near perfect box and had never been opened, it would be more than that. And like I said, they also made the Checker set. That's another one of their play sets. And you'll notice each of the MPC monsters have a hole in the base. MPC did that a lot with their figures, so you could stick them down over these tabs on the other pieces that were in the play set, and they would hold fast. Here is the other little mini play set, the Haunted Hulk, which is a pirate ship. And you can see there, I'll show the bottom of the hole. See where the monsters are stuck down over the tabs? Those monsters are going to hold and not move around. I think they did that mostly for display purposes, because the Haunted Hulk and a lot of their little play sets were sold in window boxes, and that's what sold the set, you know. And I'm going to make another video about the Haunted Hulk and that custom Haunted Hulk beside it there. But anyway, the two of those ships both have a complete set of the Weird Monsters. I want to call them Unbreakable Weird Monsters, because that's what it said on the packaging. A lot of people include the Unbreakable in the title. And you know, for the most part, they really were unbreakable. I haven't heard of any issues, like with some of the Pop Tops turn brittle over the years and fall apart in the packaging, or when you drop them on a carpet or whatever, they just fall apart. But I haven't heard of any issues like that with these Weird Monsters. There is one small issue, however, on the bases. You can see on this werewolf or wolfman, there's some of these bases that are thin molded, like where the hole is, and they tend to split right there. I mean, it doesn't hurt anything. You can move the split back together again, and you really can't tell that it was split in the first place. But a lot of those have that little break there, but that's not a big deal, and you know, that's really the worst problem condition-wise. These things are virtually indestructible. I mean, you got to try hard to tear them up. Like these. Now, the red set I bought off of eBay from a guy. I got a really good deal on that. Getting it complete's a big deal, because it's really hard to find the red ones. And if you just find a few of them, you can probably never find the rest, you know. The glow-in-the-dark ones are fairly common. I bought that set on eBay pretty cheap back years ago. Probably around $8 a piece or something, since I bought the whole set. And the original ones, those are my original ones from childhood, as well as the set on the Haunted Hulk here, and a lot of the ones on the other ship. I call it the Ghost Galley, and it's like a custom Haunted Hulk. But anyway, we will move right along. In the late 60s, in Fritos corn chips, they sold Fritos corn chips like in a multi-pack. They had the small bags of Fritos. I think there were 6 to a box, and it had to like this shrink wrap over it, and the top of it was open with just shrink wrap over it. And they gave, as a giveaway, they gave away one of these Weird Monsters, and they renamed them for the ad campaign. And here are some of the names. The Creature of Doom. They called it the Cool Ghoul. The Mummy, they called the Mad Mummy. Kind of like Bob Burns' character, the Mad Mummy. The Executioner, they called the Gay Blade. Not going to get into that. That's meant something else back then. The Skeleton, they called Bony Tony. The Vampire is called Fu Manchu. Yeah, somebody really stretched their imagination with some of this stuff. The Monster is called Slewfoot. The Witch is called Batty Bertha. And the Wolfman is called Harry Scary. So anyway, this particular Wolfman figure, or Harry Scary as it were, is one that I got as a kid out of Fritos. I remember that vividly. And, you know, the color purple is a little bit different. The shade is a little different on this one. So I think a lot of, they called them the Fritos Mini Monsters for their giveaway campaign. And online, if I don't have a picture of it or whatever, but online you can probably find a picture of the little ad thing that tells all of those names and stuff. Trying to get that to focus on this guy. There we go. That's pretty good. So anyway, I remember I got him out of Fritos, and you know, I'm not 100% sure, but I think I got this orange monster out of the Fritos too, Slewfoot. But anyway, those I'm pretty sure. I know the werewolf came out of the Fritos, the Wolfman, and I'm thinking the monster did. And you know, I have fond memories of that. I got a lot of those things out of Fritos back in the day, and of course, you know, I must have had like dozens of these come and go, and you know, with my toys, and you know how it goes. Years later, and stuff disappears. Now, this guy I got off of Etsy. It's the MPC Vampire mold, but it's not by MPC. This is a 3D printed MPC Weird Monsters Vampire that is made of urethane, which I thought was kind of an oddity. And actually, this was a gift because I bought a couple of things from a guy on Etsy that were pretty cool, and he just threw that in there. He didn't know me or anything. He didn't know what an MPC monster nut I was. He just threw that in there. I thought that was really nice of him. And we'll get to these little guys now. Now these guys, I don't think there's really a name for them, but they're made in the likeness of the MPC monsters, and they have fine sculpting, although they don't have the little bits like this skeleton does not have his bat. These are 1.5 inches tall, and they're extremely hard to find. I mean, very, very hard to find. And when you do find them, because of their size and because nobody knows what the heck they are, you can usually get them pretty cheap, you know. Honestly, if I were going to sell these things, I wouldn't sell them for less than $100 a piece because they're just extremely scarce. Not that I'm going to sell these, and I probably won't ever find any more. Yeah, none of my stuff that I show in these videos is for sale. But try to give you a look at, boy, that camera just does not want to cooperate with me there. But anyway, these things are sculpted really nicely. Really nicely. And you notice the witch does not have the bat. You know, they probably could not get, these figures are so small, they could not get the plastic to fill in the tiny details. And here is the Creature of Doom, and it does not have the scythe. But man, look at the sculpting on that. I mean, it's only 1.5 inches tall, and you got that kind of detail. And strangely, they have the little holes. I mean, whenever they made the little bitty molds for these, they repeated the little MPC holes in the base. But there were no play sets, or there was no reason for that, because there was nothing small enough for them to be put on. Maybe they just did it to save on plastic. I mean, what little it would have saved, I don't think would have made much difference. But those small ones there, you could get them in this grab bag called Spooky Surprise. Here's one of the bags. I bought this from a guy on, from an ad zine called The Rapper that sells non-sports trading cards and has ads in there, you know. There's the back of it. This is by L.M. Becker and Company, Appleton, Wisconsin. And has tattoos on the back there. And I'm going to do a video on the Horror Monsters grab bags. And I'll also include the Spooky Surprise info in that. And here is some of the stuff that came with that when I bought it from that guy. There's a short molded little skeleton, and that little chicken toy there that was in the Spooky Surprise. He said those were originally in there, so I take him at his word. I mean, but you can see, I mean, the small figures just didn't mold very well, and they probably had a lot of trouble with them. Is the reason they left off the bats and the scythe off of those three. So, and you just never see them. I mean, I have saved searches for all this stuff and word it differently and have multiple different save searches that might actually locate, you know, an eBay listing that might have some of this. And I've been looking for those little 1.5 inch figures for years, and those are the only ones I found. And the witch was given to me. This was a gift, just because I bought some little monster toys from a lady on eBay, and she thought it was like a little gumball charm or something, and just threw it in there, which was very nice of her. But I haven't ever seen another witch for sale either, so it's cool that, as far as I know, those three are the only ones that were made of that type. And I'm going to set up a comparison, a size comparison with the Pop Tops, the Weird Monsters, and those little 1.5 inch guys. Okay, so there is your size comparison. I had to turn her around because she didn't want to stand up too good, and I didn't want to bend the base back much on it. Don't think it would break, but it's old plastic, man, so don't want to put too much stress on it. So, you know, the Pop Tops around 5 inches tall, the Weird Monsters around 2.5 inches tall, and those small ones are 1.5 inches tall. Hope you liked the video, and hope you can make some use of this obscure info. And I'll see you next time talking some monster stuff, probably.